In the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island peoples today. Welcome to Totally Lit, the podcast celebrating reading, writing and creating literature. I'm your host, Ky Garvey. Thank you for listening. Carla Salmon, welcome to Totally Lit.
So lovely to be here.
I am super thrilled to have you on the show. We've had a little bit of a delay. We had to reschedule. So now I feel like we were ahead of the game and now everything has happened. And now I'm chatting to you after your launch and so many exciting things have been happening. So more to talk about maybe.
Absolutely. Yes, it's good. Some new stories.
So tell me about your latest, very first debut release.
Sure. So We Saw What You Started is a coastal mystery thriller set in a surf lifesaving club. And it follows new boy Otto, who's a Californian surfer, and he arrives in Little Sleepy Red Sands and signs up to the surf lifesaving club to try and fit in and make some friends. And everything seems to be going okay at the start, but then there's a string of suspicious fires. Otto becomes the primary suspect, and it's only the local girl Millie, who's like the surf club champion, who actually thinks he might be innocent and is willing to try and prove it with him. So it's a story of friendship and trust, finding your place when you're new. And also looks at a little bit of family dynamics as well.
I've been really lucky that I know you from my writers catch up where we get together once a month. And I feel like I've been hovering around from the start of this whole process where you've been writing your book. Then suddenly something is happening. Maybe you have an agent and now you've got a publisher. What's that experience been like from, I guess, the moment you sat down to write to where you are now?
Oh, it's been amazing. And actually, your date of publication was one of my first of the experiences within our little crew of seeing the excitement. And I still remember when you rocked up to our little gathering with your beautiful published book. And it was just amazing. So you certainly have been there right from the start. It's been really, really special. And so I started writing 3 years ago and didn't meet you until, I guess, about 6 or 8 months later when I started venturing out into this wonderful writers community, which I became completely obsessed with and addicted to because there are all these amazing champions within our community, which were so generous with their advice. I'm so very grateful for. And since then, after, I guess, signing with my agent, really, really lucky to do so. And I guess to get to that point, it was a process of seeking feedback from other authors and, taking it on. And then, of course, the process with my agent was really wonderful, where she also gave me some feedback, and then lucky enough to sign the publishing deal. And then, of course, the next round of learning commenced because this is my first manuscript. So I guess I learned on the fly and on the job. And it's been a super exciting time, but certainly the steepest learning curve I think I've ever experienced in my life, other than, I guess, a brand new baby. That's probably the only thing that that challenges it.
Now, you have a background in marketing. How helpful has that been to bring with you into this process?
Yeah, I think it's definitely given me a really good reality perspective from the very beginning. And I guess I've also seen the creative process as separate to the finished product. So whilst I, was completely immersed and just, obviously that's an art form to create, the business side of things is strategic. So I did, I guess, separate the two from the very beginning, and I tried to set up the bases that I needed with a website and thinking about how I could help and support my publisher in, I guess, having anyone even know my book exists, because that's so hard to do, isn't it, when there's so many amazing books coming out all of the time. But I did bring a fair bit of that experience, I guess, to the team and was really lucky to be supported by them. So certainly helps, but also realistically what is possible within the scope. I think that's been helpful as well, to come with ideas that could actually work and not be expecting that everything's going to be done for you, because they just can't. Like it's one product. So
I was checking out your website and I can see like you've already got set up like workshops that you can deliver So if anyone wants to go to carlasalmonbooks.com and check out her offerings of author talks and school visit workshops, did you collaborate with anyone to put those together, or were you thinking ahead going, okay, this is what I want to do with my book. This is the sort of thing I need to put together ready to rock once the book is out?
Yeah, I was quite conscious of where I wanted to position myself, both as an author and then also as a speaker. So, like, I wrote the book specifically for 11 to 15-year-olds because that was, I guess, what I was hearing from the students that I teach, needing stories specific for that young teen experience. And I really wanted to write authentically for or with them, really, with their voices. So, when I just made that decision, I thought, okay, if that's going to be where I'm going to aim to position my books as my target audience of readers, am I going to aim for, secondary school visits, or is it still possible to visit primary schools? And I thought, yeah, actually my book is for 11 to 15-year-olds. So how can I offer workshops and author talks that are going to be suitable for upper primary, but also lower secondary? But then as a teacher, I've also taught senior students. So, I wanted to make sure that I could offer, I guess, a suite of workshops and talks that would be relevant to a wide range of school visits, because I think it complements not only the book and getting your book out there into the audience. You learn so much from what the kids want, and you get to know beyond just your own school what people are looking for and what their interests are. And that really helps my writing. So I guess it's that whole chicken and egg thing. I feel like you can't really do one without the other easily. I think it's really helpful if you are willing to do both.
I am like running through my writing life haphazardly, throwing things out there, seeing what sticks. And I certainly had not, when I was considering workshops, I really hadn't thought about them. And so when I get invited to speak, I'm like, oh, sure, I can throw that together. But I do admire that you've got a suite of presentations that you can whip out and share. And like the learning for kids is so important as well. And it's something I'm definitely going to have to sit down and plan and think about for the future, certainly if I have more of a writing career.
Fantastic. We can workshop it, Ky. We can work.
It does seem like you've had a dream run with this book. Along the way, has there been any shadows of self-doubt or worry about how it's all going to pan out?
Oh, constantly. Yeah, I think I'm driven more by fear of failure than anything else. I don't know anyone, I think, who doesn't have that idea of imposter syndrome at every single step of the way. And, initially going to catch-ups or to other author launches, I felt massive imposter syndrome, but I think I tried to focus my energy instead on the learning part of it and just being really honest and open and saying, yeah, look, I really don't know what I'm doing. I've been an English teacher or I am an English teacher, and I've got a background in writing stories in marketing and comms, but writing a novel is an art form. It's a craft that is so different to anything I've ever attempted to do. And I got quite hooked on the learning and the stories behind the stories, so that if you're really curious, it takes away some of that fear of, when you're the only person in the room who doesn't know anybody else at the start. And then slowly you find out, oh, actually these people are amazing. And not just in Brisbane, but all over Australia, the kidlit community is incredible and so willing to share what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to feel less like an imposter and more like a colleague in the industry, and you just want to help each other. And the more I think as well, you get so much joy when you hear good news from other people.
Okay.
And so if you're, celebrating everybody else, again, that pressure is shared, and it feels like it's okay if something doesn't go quite right, because no one's out to take you down. It's about, trying to lift everyone up all the time. So that gets, that becomes really exciting rather than scary.
Did you undertake any courses when you were preparing to start writing?
I did. I took a wonderful course at the Queensland Writers Centre with Laurel Kern, and it was a structural editing workshop. And at that point, I had a manuscript that was about 40,000 words, and I was thinking it was going to be middle grade. It was in third person, past tense, with a single point of view, just the boy's point of view. And, I thought it was okay. Turns out it was not. It was absolute rubbish. And looking back now, I don't think I could actually bear to read it. But that workshop with Laurel was such a turning point because she showed us how to map out a story by stepping back away from this thing that you're really invested in and connected to, and looking at it about, thinking, why would someone want to keep reading? What is the thread that runs through the whole core of the story? And looking at different voices and different ways to write. So in the end, that story then, using, I guess, Laurel's structural process, moved into being a young adult fiction. Like, I guess it's a young YA, but it's 70,000 words and it's in first person with 2 points of view in present tense. So completely different. But I don't know if I would have been brave enough to make the changes that I kind of thought I probably needed to do without experiencing Laurel's workshop and meeting the other people at that workshop too, which has been really lovely to continue.
And can you tell me, what was that moment when you first went, I'm going to write a book? Do you recall when that was?
I really do, yeah. So it was, almost 3 years ago to the day, actually, when we were on school holidays and we were at Hervey Bay and it rained for the whole week. It was just miserable weather. And my beautiful cousin lives in Hervey Bay and she's always been my best friend, more like a sister than a cousin. And so I caught up with her and we were chatting away about, everything that we're doing with life and where we're at as we approach our late 30s. And I realized that whilst I was really enjoying still being a teacher, I was doing things for everybody else rather than for me. And so I was lacking a little bit of personal fulfillment. And Jodie just suggested, you've always loved to create or to make. Like, we used to sew, we used to do craft, we used to do all sorts of creative making things. And she said, what are you actually personally making at the moment? And I realized I probably wasn't. And so we workshopped, brainstormed, what could I do as a bit of a side hustle passion project? And writing a book didn't actually come up in the conversation at the time. It was later, after, I guess, that conversation marinated, and we were driving home, still raining. And I thought, you know what, maybe actually writing the thing is actually writing a novel, because at the same time, my 11-year-old son had decided he had stopped reading. He was, totally over it. And I did really want him to continue. So that was where, I guess, that first little thought of maybe I could do this happened. And in that moment as well, when we were driving home, the Red Sand Surf Lifesaving Club popped into my head. So the actual name of the club, Otto, came into my head straight away, although he was actually Finn initially. But as I think I've said to you before, it's really hard to write a story that's set in a surf lifesaving club if the kid's name is Finn. It doesn't work with all the other Finns. So yeah, but those characters, it was really quite funny. Yep, trying to write that part. But yeah, the characters, I guess, appeared, and from then on, I had a little tiny bit of self-belief that maybe I could do this. But then, of course, I had to find out all of the things that I didn't know, which was pretty much everything. I didn't even know a manuscript was called a manuscript. I thought it was just called a draft. So it was a very steep process, but a wonderful one. And it certainly has been as fulfilling as I needed it to be at that point in my life.
Who was the first person you verbalized that idea to, that you were going to write a book?
It was probably my husband as we were driving, actually, because he was like, what are you doing? You're doing some lesson planning. And I said, no, I'm actually writing a book. And he just sort of laughed and was like, okay, great. Another harebrained scheme, because I do have some crazy ideas at times.
Same here, girl, same here.
Us creatives, right? That's what we do. So he would have been the first one. But after that, the first person I actually spoke to was my partner at school. So we share an office in our middle school community. I guess there's 2 teachers who work together in a pod. And my pod partner was a fabulous teacher called Michelle Baker. And when I mentioned it to her, I said, isn't this hilarious? I'm going to have a go at this. And she said, you should talk to my friend Poppy G. She does a bit of that sort of thing. Yep. She does a bit of that sort of thing. Well, turns out she doesn't just do a bit of that sort of thing. She's an incredibly talented author, internationally published author, and convener of the most amazing author events. So I met with Poppy. By that stage, I think I had maybe 10,000 or 20,000 words, and beautiful Poppy read my very first draft ever.
Amazing.
I know, and was so kind, because it would have been awful, but she encouraged me to come along to the Brisbane Writers Group, and it all started then from there. It all started building, and I just had to learn and learn and learn as fast as I could. So, but I was very lucky.
Now, it feels over the past few months you have been here, there, and everywhere. How much of those opportunities did you create yourself, and how much was your agent and publisher organising those for you?
All of the launch events, I think it's fairly standard now for most debut authors across all of the publishers. I guess you don't really sell many books as a debut author, of course, because you're so unknown. So I guess the money invested by publishers, they don't have a huge amount to spend on the marketing and advertising for each book. And so they're keen for you to organise the launch parties yourself if you would like to. And so I started with that. But then I thought, well, if I'm going to put this effort in, how can I actually use this as an opportunity to connect with people perhaps outside of the contacts that my publishers already has? So I thought about some influencers. I thought about other people I really looked up to who were doing some really great storytelling, but not necessarily in traditional publishing in the industry. People like radio presenters and podcasters in, not necessarily the publishing area. And so I was lucky enough I had to pitch for those opportunities, and beautiful Emily Jade O'Keefe on the Gold Coast was keen for me to work with her for her podcast Move Over Mama, and her and her daughter Millie ended up helping me launch the Gold Coast event and tying up with, restaurant owners that I knew or had any sort of connections to.
You had wine at your event as well. I just remembered that.
I did have a wine. Well, I do have a wine sponsor. You're right. Yep.
Amazing.
Beautiful. Piri Tasmania is a precious friend. So yeah, I think it was just about, I really did think, who do I know and how can we authentically engage in a partnership that's going to be mutually beneficial? And it was always about, what opportunities we can offer each other. And then it becomes really fun. So yeah, I did do all the launch parties myself, but Pam McMillan were wonderful in supporting that as well. In terms of the media, we had my wonderful publicist has, fantastic industry contacts. And he was then also keen for me to reach out to other personal contacts that I had from my background in PR and marketing. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was really a team effort in the media and marketing side of things. But the events, I've always loved a party. Mm-hmm. So I don't find organising those things too, I guess, energy, sucking. I do really enjoy those events. By the end of July, I was pretty cooked, I must say, because we had lots and lots of things on, but I definitely I would do it all again in a heartbeat, because it was definitely worth it, I think, from my perspective.
But I think too, your debut book only ever happens once. I'm hoping there are many more books for you, but I really believe in enjoying that experience as well, because it's like the first time that ever happens.
I agree.
And I have to say, for myself, I did and for people who have met me, I'm a bit of a stress head at times. I was in this ball of anxiety and I was like, okay, I really want to encourage everybody else, enjoy it, make the most of it, because it really is such a unique thing to happen in life as well. Because there are many writers who try their whole careers to get a book published and they don't get across the line. And it's like, okay, this is a thing. I've made a thing. Let's celebrate it.
I agree. And I think by the time it's published, it's such a collaborative team project by that point too. And so it's so lovely to connect with all the people who helped lift you up to get to that position. And I don't publishers, obviously, in the agent, and I have the most amazing agent who did literally push shopping trolleys of, charcuterie boards and things through Chadstone Shopping Centre. She's just the most amazing human. Adore her. And we did have a bit of a joke that, is this normally what you have to do? Is this normally on your job description? But yeah, I think it's all the other people in your community, your friends and your family who have put up with endless hours of you tucked away in an office or wherever you write. And it's nice to be able to pour a glass of bubbles, eat some cheese and have some great conversations with really amazing people in the industry and just celebrate the moment. Because you're right, it may never happen again, or even if it does, it won't be the same as the very first one. So yeah, why not make it a party?
Such a weird dichotomy in that writing itself is a very lonely, insular task. And then you've got to suddenly transform into a butterfly and sell that book. And it's like, especially for introverted authors, it's a challenge to put yourself out there and to be reminding people, hey, my book is out. It would be great if you could come to a launch, or could you buy my book or come to this event? I felt like I was stalking you with all the Brisbane events because I managed to get to all of them.
I was so thrilled. Every time I saw your beautiful face, I was so excited and so grateful for your support.
Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, and you mentioned it earlier, is about your son disconnecting from reading. And also in your teaching life, you're working with a lot of young men in the literature space. Did you have in mind when writing the book to aim it to encourage young men to read?
Very much so. I think that particularly the young teens is where we seem to lose a lot of our regular readers. They've been in good reading routines. They've really loved the middle grade books. And then there seems to be a little bit of a gap between those middle grade stories and then the older YA reads. So I really wanted to offer something that would very much ring true to their age and stage. I found, even if you're willing to allow your younger children to read older YA, that does have some pretty, full-on themes at times. It doesn't necessarily click for them. Well, and certainly with my own son and the boys at my school. And for, readers of fantasy and sci-fi, I think there's probably a greater range available for that age group. But for the kids who perhaps are struggling a little bit with social anxiety or aware of their social status and are just, I guess, there's a combination of things happening. We've got to position reading as cool as a culture in our schools and in our communities, and we need to have our dads reading and we need to have brothers reading and grandparents reading to try and shift that positive masculinity to incorporate reading in general. That will help us. But yeah, for those kids who are finding their identity and thinking about what masculinity is for them, I think we really need books that they can proudly read and talk about. It might be a little bit of sport. It might be something that's a bit risky or a bit naughty with, that's why I have dirt bikes on beach roads and late night ocean swims. Like, these kids are not angels, but at the heart of the story, which was really important to me, is that these kids are good kids. And I think that's something else that we need to be telling our young men and our young teenage boys is that, you guys are pretty awesome. And here is a text and that is going to celebrate how awesome you are and say that, yeah, okay, you are going to make some mistakes and you're not going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, everything is figure outable and, hopefully hooking them then into reading texts that take them in all different directions for the rest of their reading life. So that was something I was really keen to do. But I also want to have a second point of view with a female voice and to have that opportunity for the boys to just sort of accidentally, because it's a boy chapter first, and the boys to then, here's a female voice, because I think, they should be happy reading books about all genders. But, I know too many young boys, unfortunately, who are keen to start off with a boy book. So we've just got to shift that. We've got to acknowledge it and help them move slowly towards a really wide range of texts.
Both my sons did not want to read the whole way through primary school and high school. And I had a lot of grief around it because I'm such a nerd. And I've loved reading since I was a tiny girl and tried all different methods and nothing worked. And then just one day, Lachlan in about year 10 or 11 picked up The Power of One and read the whole lot from start to finish.
Oh, how awesome.
And I was like, how did that? I was so surprised. But then, because of course the ending is sad, like he cried his heart out.
No!
And said, you didn't tell me that was what was going to happen. But to go from virtually reading nothing to now reading novels at that level, I was really surprised. But I guess I needed to be patient and understand that he would come into it in his own time. But it was quite late in terms of it was later in his high school years. Now, both of them read, but they do a lot of reading online and on the computer, so doing research and learning about the world that way. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And they're always telling me random facts that I did not know. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go.
How
I'm
fabulous.
learning something new.
And this is it, all reading is good reading. And I actually think year 10's quite a young age to come back to books. I know my husband, I think he finished his last book that he had to read in about year 8 and then winged it from then on. And it was Christian White's The Ledge that I asked him to read after I read it. No, sorry, I got him to read it first. I'd borrowed it, that's right, last Christmas. And that was the first fiction book he has read as an adult. So from a young child. And so I think all men, all of us go through different stages, but yeah, it'd be so wonderful if we can get people reading, no matter what age or stage. It's never too late to come back.
And did you have the Australian curriculum in mind when you were writing, or did you just write because you had a story you wanted to tell?
A little bit. I mean, I think it just sits in the back of my mind no matter what. It was more about meeting the kids' needs. Yeah. So the kids and my own son and my daughter, of course, they love beautiful descriptive language and the use of figurative devices and language that feels like it's challenging them a little bit. So I was aware that that would obviously then fit some of the curriculum needs as well. And things like intertextual referencing, when we're talking about a song or another story, that's a hard criteria to meet as a teacher, to find a text that's suitable. So I was aware of that, but I would have written that anyway because it was the type of book that I wanted to write. Probably the one thing I was aware of as a teacher, as opposed to just as a mother or as an author, was avoiding swearing, because if we're writing authentically for what our, unfortunately, 11 to 15-year-olds speak or say, they do swear. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to offer a story and to be more creative in my writing and try and avoid it, which I ended up doing through showing rather than telling with their actions. But I also know that for a school, it's easier if it's an easier sell to your English department team or to your school, especially your middle school library and upper primary library, if the language is appropriate for that age group. So so that was probably the main thing I was conscious of. And my publisher actually asked me, why have you got no swearing in this book? Like it's a bit clean.
You can drop a few in. Is that
apparently you can drop some if it's for YA, see? And I explained that I really wanted it to be specific for that bridge between middle grade and YA, and she totally got it, and it was fantastic. And I think, I'm glad I have, because I just want to make it easy for teacher librarians to offer the books to everyone as much as possible.
And especially where there are also parents who are monitoring what their children are reading. Yeah, making it as easy as possible.
Yeah, giving parents a choice. Same with intimacy and violence. I think sometimes it's nice for a parent to be able to confidently have a book that they can put into an 11-year-old's hands and know that they can read it totally independently, but still be challenged with ideas and realistic friendships and kids who push the boundaries, but the content itself is safe for an 11-year-old, whereas a 15-year-old, I guess, will relate directly to the characters, whereas an 11-year-old will look up to them. But that whole span, a parent doesn't need to read it first to check. Yeah. Because we don't have time, do we? Like, it's so busy as parents.
We can't even read the books we want to read, let alone checking others to make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
It's a challenge with all content, really, are you confiscating phones? Are you looking through computers? at what point are you overstepping privacy as well? Because I think to protect our children, we have to be vigilant, but there's also a level of, okay, are they handing their phones in every night? Are we sitting next to them with every chat they have on a computer? Are we watching every game they're playing? It's a difficult world to navigate at the moment, I think, when there's so much content flying from everywhere.
Very much so. And it's a full-time job. Yeah. So we actually have a charging cupboard, and that has been a game changer, because I've said to the kids, right, once you come home from school, the phone goes in the charging cupboard. You can stand in the cupboard and text your friends, or, they did have Snapchat, as much as you want, but you have to be in the cupboard. You can't be relaxing on the couch. And so, it's not that comfortable standing in the cupboard. It was a really good parenting hack that I must have seen somewhere, but yeah, it just
with what works at times.
That's right.
Well. The challenge is everything is so addictive as well. So encouraging that ability to let go. And as adults, we are all scrolling at night and checking all of our emails and texts, and it's difficult as an adult to remove yourself from that. So asking a child to disconnect is challenging as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And modeling it and saying, I'm doing my online grocery order. I'm not. And now I'm doing Instagram, but it's for work. As well as a little bit of scrolling and a little bit of fun chats.
So what is next now that you've got your first book out? Is there more on the horizon for you?
Yes, well, I do have a 2-book deal, so that's super exciting. And so I have submitted book 2. It's with my publisher. It doesn't mean that they will say yes. And they're of course super busy at the moment in the lead up to their Christmas publications. So it's in. We'll see what they think. At the moment, the story, it's a second standalone mystery, still set in the same world of Red Sands, and told from 2 different characters' perspectives within the kids' group. So it's a bit of a Babysitter's Club strategy, I guess, in that I loved those books because I really loved hearing the various characters' points of view. So I thought that could be a bit fun. So I've given that a go. I really love it. It's, of course, been carefully cringe-checked by my children. So that's obviously funny. Very important. And yeah, so we'll see where that goes. But I think you can never guarantee anything, and you've just got to keep going. So I've got book 3 and book 4 in my head. And so literally today I just started planning book 3. So we'll see how far that goes. Yeah.
Although a little tingle then when you said that.
You're so sweet.
I love a new project.
Well, that's it. I know that it's the fun part, right? Although I don't know about you, I think I'm a planner, and I try and plan things out, although I haven't had as much time to plan as much as I have this time. So we'll see how I go. But usually when I start writing, even with my plan, the plan just gets completely discarded because the characters just want to do their own thing, and they kind of argue with me and they rebel and they refuse to do, typical teenagers, refuse to do what I suggest. So it's quite funny.
I to be honest, even though I plan, I never know what is actually going to happen. I'll write a story and I'm like, oh, okay, I was surprised that's where that went. Okay. So, but it is exciting as well because it keeps things interesting, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. And will it still be crime related?
Yes. So it's another standalone teen crime mystery. And of course, the kids get themselves involved in all sorts again. And again, good kids accidentally or somewhat deliberately, I guess, in this one, making bad choices and then having to get themselves out of it. So I think, this one, I'm more aware this time of plot beats. Didn't even know what that was first time round. I was just, I guess, following a more standard story arc that I would use with short story writing. Yep. And there are certainly elements that cross over, but with a novel, especially when you're writing a crime mystery for teens, young teens, it's almost more of a fantasy cycle format in that each chapter has to be its own little, scene that ends with a bit of a cliffhanger, but there is, somewhat resolved at each one. So, and the characters have to develop and progress emotionally as much as the action. So I guess I'm aware more of those things. It'll be interesting to see what the publisher thinks in terms of the outcome of the product, having having learned more and thinking I know more now, do I actually? Because
I've
maybe I
been
won't.
saying a lot lately, I know nothing. I think I've got things figured out, and no, got to keep learning. But I think that's the joy in life as well, that you can continue to grow and learn and improve.
That's it.
So I've got a couple of questions for you, which you were so organized today. You reached out to me and you got the questions ahead of time, whereas usually I'm like running into an interview and going, oh, sorry, I haven't told you this, but I'm going to ask you these questions. So the
That's
first
more
question,
pressure. Now it has to be a really polished answer, Ky.
Okay, first question is, what one tip would you share with aspiring publishing creatives that are looking to commence their writing journey?
Yeah, without a doubt, the face-to-face connections has been not only the most powerful and the fastest way to learn for me, but it's also been the most rewarding. So even if you are feeling, like we talked about before, massive imposter syndrome, that, you really don't belong at the start, keep showing up and go to a wide variety of events, because, I went to everything from picture book launches right through to, historical crime launches. And from every single author, I can say that I just learned exponentially each time, both through them sharing their processes, but the conversations afterwards. And that's where I've also made the best contacts. I met the glorious Amy Doak when she first launched Eleanor Jones, and she was a debut author. And I was just so excited for her, and, just celebrated her book so much. And that connection now has turned into a really beautiful friendship.
Lovely.
So it's really nice. I think turn up, show up, say hi to people, be interested in their background and their stories. And it really is worth it, as difficult as it is at the start.
And can you tell me one surprising thing about yourself that readers and other writers might not know about you?
Okay, so I did think about this one, because I thought, gosh, there's so much obviously that people don't know. But one thing that I've been thinking about lately is how much, as a young teen, I was probably lonely throughout those early teen years, because I really wished that I'd had a twin. That was something that I'd always really wanted, to have that in my head, that guaranteed person who was by your side. There was a pair of twins, these fabulous girls called Tasman and, oh my gosh, the other name's just completely gone out of my head now. But they were actually from Rainbow Beach, and they were in the Surf Lifesaving Club, and they would turn up to school each day, and they just had this beautiful connection. But they were also in this, from the outside, from what I saw, was this very much a comfort bubble. And then anyone in addition to their lives, like all the school antics and the friendship antics, were a bonus. And if it didn't work out, it didn't matter, because they had each other. So I think that was something, as an adult now, looking back, I've got beautiful friendships, and I probably come across as quite extroverted, but we all, as young teens, finding our people and finding our tribe. And I was absolutely no different. So yeah, that's certainly something that I've reflected on a lot lately, and with my own teenage daughter and nieces and nephew and my son. So yeah, I think acknowledging that for kids is that it's hard, but it will be figure outable and it will be okay, is something, been thinking about a lot.
Can you imagine 2 Carlas in the world?
My goodness. Actually, I hadn't thought of that, Ky, the actual logistics of it. I was just thinking about a friend.
I can understand that, because I'm an only child, so I often would have dreams that I had like a secret brother or sister that was suddenly discovered, and I'd be like, to mum and dad, are you sure there's something I don't know? But just wishful thinking, my subconscious playing tricks on me. But it is definitely a different experience growing up as an only child as opposed to growing up in a family full of people. Yeah, I can identify.
Yeah, for sure. I do have a younger brother, so I should shout out to him. He's wonderful, but we were very different as kids. Yep. So I think that was the main thing. We weren't super close. Now we're close, but yeah, I think just teenage years, it's tricky for everyone.
And adulthood can sometimes be a lonely space as well. If you haven't got your tribe locked in, it can be difficult as an older person to suddenly go, I need a village. Where are you?
Totally. Yep. Find those cup fillers because they are out there. And yeah, we're so lucky that there are so many in our beautiful writing community. That's for sure.
Now, I've been trying a new thing where I'm throwing a question to my guests to ask me. I'm not sure if anybody's enjoying this part of the segment, but
Oh, I love it. I think it's a great
see
idea.
if I start getting feedback on it. So, Carla, do you have a question you would like to ask me?
I do. So I want to know, you've interviewed so many amazing people from all different genres. And was there someone who inspired you to write in a completely different genre or to play in that space after having interviewed them?
I have interviewed Angela Slater and Isabel Carmody, and I would love to write some things that are similar to their genre, so that have a bit of fantasy and maybe a little bit of supernatural in it as well.
Ooh,
so I think
cool.
that is kind of the area I've always planned to write in. So it's kind of encouraged me more to do that. To be honest, like all my guests are so amazing and I learn something new from each one of them. So it could be very easy to go, oh, I'll write this week and I'll write this next week. I am trying to stick to picture books at the moment and I dabble in short stories. I was on the floor earlier this week because I'd had a series of rejections all in a row. I'm the worst.
It's so hard.
It's part of the whole experience is that you do get rejections.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have a day or so where I was feeling a bit low and a few people would have seen me, woe is me, on social media.
Oh, yeah.
But
happens to all of us, right?
What I always do is pick myself up and start something new. So I'm starting the work around the Totally Lit Microfiction Prize. So that will be the project that'll take me through to the end of the year. So that we ran that I don't know why I say we when I talk about podcasts because it is just me. And it sounds more like it's a thing if I say we.
No, well, it probably feels like you're doing so much that it feels like there's a team behind you.
I did have an amazing team of judges and sponsors for last year. And this year I'm just reaching out to some new judges and some new sponsors, as well as some past sponsors who are coming on board. So that's exciting. So that has kind of lifted me up again to feel like, okay, I'm doing something positive and creative and I can see results from it.
Absolutely.
And it is that feeling of, I believe in making my own luck in a lot of ways. In that,
totally agree.
If doors are closed one way, I just find another door. So,
yep. And at the end of the day, it's all about storytelling, right? And through what you're doing here as well, you're such a fabulous storyteller. So, all of those skills and all of those little pieces all matter and they all contribute. So it's, so it's all about building it up, right?
Well, that's it. And I think it contributes to the community as well. Like there was a time where I was this little wannabe writer. I didn't want anyone to read my work. I was so scared of sharing a part of myself with other people. And it took a lot for me to come out of my shell and give it a go. But look at the results. Like I could not have even dreamt about some of the things that have happened to me because I tried. So my mission a bit is to continue to be bringing everyone else along for the ride. So I'm like, come on the podcast. Tell us about your work. Are you an aspiring writer? Enter my writing competition.
Amazing.
Just to be, because imagine how many gems are out there that just haven't been written because someone is feeling that fear or that imposter syndrome and going, oh, well, no, I can't do that. And the answer is, well, yes, you can.
Absolutely.
There's talent involved, but there's learning and hard work. And the 3 years that it took you to write your book, like that is a big commitment as well. So to decide to do that, it's a big thing. So I'm all about, saying to people, just do it.
I agree. And the more it's just about learning. I don't know. I think you learn the craft. Yes, it's a craft, but it is a process. And the more you study texts you love and just soak it all up and just enjoy the conversations and enjoy the workshops and the learning, you've got nothing to lose. Like that's the best part because hopefully if you're doing it, it's giving you joy from the creating part. Yeah. And then, you see what comes from it from there.
And the other thing too, just that those young kids that are picking up your book and reading it, how much of a ripple effect is that having out in the world? Like, it's exciting.
Oh, it's so exciting, terrifying. Every time someone says they're reading it or have read it, I actually go, oh my gosh, I forgot that, that bit happens, the actual reading of the book. I'm okay with, the drafting and the editing and the beautiful cover and all of that stuff. But the actual thought that people are reading it and giving up their time is really mind blowing. And, at school, the boys have got copies of it on their desk underneath, their pencil case.
Cool.
It's just awesome. And, asking me to sign copies in lunchtime. And it's just beautiful. So every time I hear that it's really resonated with a young person, that's what I did it for. And that's the whole point. So yeah, it's really nice. And even my beautiful dad, he's so funny. I don't think he's ever read a full book. And, he actually read it and said, yes, it's pretty good. It's all right. I'm like, thanks, Dad.
It's amazing how much we need our dads to just that little bit of validation from your dad is amazing. I've had the same with me because my book, it basically is me and my dad. And I'm like, Dad, that's you, right? And I don't think it had really occurred to him, but I'm like, but it was you who took me skating every Saturday morning.
Oh, how divine. Yeah. No, these people, it's beautiful when you get someone like that who doesn't normally read and connects and can see how much they have contributed to your life. It's beautiful.
What an accomplishment. You've got your dad to read a book.
I know. My beautiful tradie dad, who is actually the most brilliant storyteller I know. He's the fabulous storyteller, but wasn't ever, academic reading was never something that was even a possibility for him for a whole range of reasons. So yeah, it's never too late, as we said before. Mum jokes that it's actually within his maturity levels, is the age reading group. So,
anyway. Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to chat with you and to watch the book evolve and come out into the world from when I first met you. It's been an exciting journey, and I'm looking forward to see what's next for you.
Thank you so much, Ky, and thank you for being such a champion of all of our writing community and for also being a personal inspiration for me right from the very beginning and a dear friend. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm literally red now, listeners.
It's true. It's true.
Totally Lit is an independent podcast. You can help support us to continue to chat with wonderful Australian creatives by leaving a review on iTunes or sharing our socials with your friends. You can also make a contribution at www.buymeacoffee.com/totallylit. This will also help with equipment and podcasting platform fees. I love to interact with our listeners, so feel free to say hello either by email or social media at totallylitpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn and Twitter, and now Blue Sky. I've also created a group on Facebook called the Totally Lit Writing Community. It's a space to continue the conversation and share your writing successes, events, launches and latest projects. Jump into the group and say hello. Thank you for listening to Totally Lit, and don't forget to go out into the world to read, write, create, ignite.